All right, awesome. Hey everyone, welcome to today's panel, Winning Ad Creatives in the Age of AI, What Still Works? I'm Robert Wynn, CEO and co-founder of Reforged Labs, and I'll be moderating today's panel. First off, thank you to SocialPeta and all the partners for bringing this all together. And with MAU coming up next week, there's a question that I've been hearing about a lot, and it's one that UA, growth, and creative teams are all asking right now. If AI makes it easier to generate, test, and copy ad creatives, what is the real advantage? For a long time, creatives was one of the last few things advertisers could still control. And so we're going to be talking about that in today's session. AI is changing a lot. Teams are generating more variants, more creatives than ever. So the question is that advantage shrinking or is it just moving somewhere else? Are you guys ready to dive in?
Yeah,
Let's do
let's
it.
go.
All right. Well, Burgess, you want to kick us off? Let's do some quick
Sure.
intros. Keep the intros 30 to 45 seconds. Name, role, what your company does, and like one quick thought on how you're thinking about AI and ad creatives right now.
Okay, cool. So, hey everyone, I'm Rajesh. I'm the co-founder of Segwise. Segwise is building AI agents to help you make ad creatives. So, very on topic to what we're talking about. One quick sort of thought around what's happening is I feel like this is a great time to be a creative person because the value of a creative person has never been higher, in my opinion, because as the sort of average sort of rises up, it becomes harder and harder to find people who have truly original thoughts. And if you do, then you're very, very valuable in this age.
All right, thank you. Maybe Binod, you're next on my Zoom screen.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. So my name is Vinod, and I'm currently working as a business development manager at SocialPeta, a global ad intelligence platform. Like at SocialPeta, we work closely with leading games, mobile app, and short drama companies, helping them to analyze competitive strategy, identify winning creative, and understand global market trend across like platform like Meta, TikTok, Google, and many others. Like today's topic, winning ad creative in the age of AI is extremely important because we are seeing AI completely transforming how creatives are produced, tested, and scaled. But at the same time, we are also learning that the data-driven storytelling, emotional hooks, and creative strategies still play a huge role in the performance marketing success. So I am excited to share some insight, trends, and real marketing observation from what we are seeing globally through social data, like ad intelligence data. Like looking forward to have a great discussion with everyone today.
Awesome. Claire, you want to go next?
My turn? Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Claire. I'm working in gaming for more than 15 years now. I'm the founder of Rzain Consulting and Sister Sans Affaires. So it's a cyber feminist platform working at the intersection of women, kids product, and also mobile growth. I've been working for studio like Rovio, Gameloft, Immutable, so really big studio and managing their user acquisition. And I'm still doing it actually. So really excited to share a bit about AI and what is currently working and actually not working in mobile growth.
I think I'm the last one. My name is Ronnie. I'm the art director at Upptic, and we at Upptic we help games and apps scale by unifying creative ad production, user acquisition, and marketing analytics all into one growth system. And for me, I'm very excited about this era of AI generated ads, and I'm very excited about the integration of these AI tools into the um, production pipeline that we have been using for the past years. So yeah, I'm very excited.
Awesome. And as you guys can see, we have a really great group of panelists across all different industries, and I'm super excited for this panel. Maybe Ronnie, you can actually start off with this question. I will go in reverse order for the panelists. It's a general question for everyone. For years, creatives has been the last major advantage advertisers can control. Do you think AI is starting to commoditize that advantage? Is creative advantage shrinking or just evolving?
I would say creative advantage is not disappearing and it's not shrinking. I would say, as we all know, AI has commoditized and lowered the barrier of entry for all games right now. And for that, I would say creative strategy is all the more important than before. Being able to identify trends, even memes and concepts that are relevant to the target audiences and communities that you're targeting with your ads is all the more relevant than before because this is what will allow us to create creatives that are able to cut through the noise of all the sea of AI generated ads that are all looking the same. And by that, I'm not saying that AI tools are not relevant anymore, that AI generation images, videos, sound, and voiceovers and music are not relevant. What I'm saying is that if you fall into the trap of leveraging too heavily on only AI generated ads, you can uh, get a portfolio of creatives that looks yeah, identically the same as everyone else, and eventually ended up losing your creative advantage because all your creatives looks exactly the same as everyone else. So we have been trying to diversify portfolios, come up with new ideas, and really try new concepts and out there ideas and strange and weird concepts besides AI generated ads.
Yeah, I love that, Ronnie. Especially as you think about like AI slop and what is out there in the market. How about you, Claire? How are you thinking about this question?
Mm, I really push back on framing it as an advantage because it will assume that creative will have been controlled, which is not the case. We all know it deeply depends on different algorithm, but also people watching your content. So I think it wasn't. It always, linked to some subculture, some player, basically a creative working or not. And nowadays, what we see is AI generalizing basically creative to what the most are actually interested into, but not always, your actually key audience where but most probably is interesting into your game. So I think what AI is commodizing is the surface layer. Definitely, it's an asset for execution, variant, having really a good speed. But that layer is deeply collapsing in value. There is the advantage, that lives there, and we are losing taste. We are losing sometimes localization, because it's not really going really deep into some countries that are actually generating a lot of revenue, like Germany, for instance, in Europe. It will always take, like the voice of the most. So it's statistical, it's algorithm. And I do believe as well that people are just getting bored out of it. Unity just released Vector, for instance, that is an algorithm that is optimizing through AI, and those algorithms on ad quality evolve massively, and we will have the opportunity to speak about it later on. But most of the AI UGC ads, for instance, are flagged by those algorithms, and you are ultimately paying it the price on your CPM. So I think there is things that are good to take, but there is also things to kind of like be subtle about to like use it at best for your business.
Awesome. Yeah. I think I can tell how much of a great practitioner you are by the way that you speak about the practical realities. But Node, how about you?
Yeah, see, today with AI tool, advertiser can already generate creative like 5 to 10x faster, reducing the production cost also nearly by like 50 to 70%. Like very soon, almost everyone will have the access similar to like creative generation capabilities. But even if everyone can create ad instantly, not everyone will know. So basically, like which creative angle will emotionally connect with their user, which hook will improve retention, and even like audience segment to target, and how to scale the winning creative profitability. So at SocialPeta, we see brand launching hundreds and thousands of creative every month, but usually only like 10 to 15% actually drive the performance. So I believe like there are few major factors like first is data intelligence. Like companies with strong first party data, competitor intelligence, and consumer behavior insight will have a huge advantage. Second, like the winner will be advertiser who can test, analyze, and optimize the creative in real time. So AI can generate content, but authenticity, storytelling, emotional connect, and building a very human advantage. So overall, AI is not eliminating competitive advantage, but it is changing where the advantage come from. So basically, the future will be the combination of AI plus data plus speed, and obviously the human creativity.
Yeah, I'm really excited how SocialPeta is addressing that. How about you, Burgess? How are you thinking about this question?
I've recently gotten into cooking, so I'm going to give you a cooking example. I believe that there are three parts to this, right? There is ingredient sourcing, there are recipes, and then there is execution, right? Ingredient sourcing used to be the hard part for a lot of small and mid-sized developers because what are our ingredients to make an ad, right? There is insights about what's working for your ads. There is insights for what's working in competitor ads. There is insights from what are your customers saying about your product, what are they resonating with, are you doing enough interviews with them, etc. What's happening here is on the recipe side, a lot of on the ingredient side, a lot of these ingredients were gate kept for large companies, which are now becoming available for smaller companies because of AI, which is awesome, right? Now you can all compete. But there are some ingredients which are still very personal, right? Like how a cook would sort of relate to this. You can do the additional hard work of speaking to more customers. How do you interpret what your customers are saying? Are you watching enough of them using your product and finding any insights from that? So there is always going to be special ingredients that you can sort of dig out, which is going to add to your eventual final product. So that's on the ingredient side. Then there is the actual recipe. Like if me and my partner, who's a much better cook than me, get the same ingredients, her product is going to be better, largely because her recipes are better. She knows how to use those ingredients a lot better than me. But also sometimes she changes stuff up, right? So she will bake something which is very different from what she is doing, or what the recipe says. So, and that's something that we can do as well. So if the universe is telling you that shocking hooks are working, maybe you try something which is opposite, right? So you reverse that recipe and see what comes out. So I think a lot of importance will now go into how people use those ingredients because ingredients are now available very easily. So a lot more pressure will be on that recipe and how you sort of mix those up to get better outputs. The execution part has been commoditized, right? So if you have the right ingredients, you've made a recipe, getting it done is now very easy and everybody will be able to like see their vision come out. But there are these two other layers where there is still a lot of IP. Even things like, for example, creating character IPs have become so much more important because in a world where everybody can copy everything, having a character that is your own is going to be a very, very big deal. And making it a character that people resonate with, your customers resonate with, is going to become like even more important. This is why you see like character-led ads, you see founder-led ads, because you can copy my concept, but you can't copy me. Like I am me and I'm my story. So those are the kind of things that I think will come out and will still sort of make the creative role important. And that's how I think it's evolving. But yeah, there's still a lot of ingredients and recipes that we can play with to get alpha.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the cooking analogy. Hopefully you'll make us some food next time we see you, Burgess. All right. Actually, I have a question for Binod, actually. Looking at Social Peta's data, are we already seeing creative trends spread and saturate way faster than before? Are these advertisers actually becoming too dependent on this like trend, replication, copying? What are you seeing in the market and in the data specifically?
See, I don't think AI is reducing the importance of creative advantage. I think it is fundamentally evolving it. A few years ago, the advantage was mainly about who could produce more creatives at a lower cost. Today, AI has democratized that. Almost like every advertiser now has access to AI tools for like copy generation, video editing, or voiceover, and even creative testing. For example, with AI, teams can produce like 5 to 10x more creative compared to traditional workflow, and creative production cost has also dropped to like 40 to 60%. But uh, that also means that volume alone can no longer the competitive edge. The real advantage is shifting towards understanding the audience psychology better, identify winning creative hooks, and combining AI with strong market intelligence and human creativity in real time. Like at SocialPeta, we are seeing, like as I mentioned earlier, like thousands of creatives are produced by a company or a publisher on a monthly basis, but only like 10 to 15% of those creatives drive the major performance. So the challenge today is not can you create ads? The challenge is can you create the right ad for the right audience at the right times?
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's a really great insight, and I love seeing data-backed answers. Actually, Claire, I'm actually really curious. Like, in game publishing, it's always been really dependent and heavily focused on understanding player psychology and creative hooks. Do you think AI can actually like learn those patterns? Or is it mostly optimizing what already exists? Can AI create new creative angles, or is it just replicating things that are already proven out?
That's actually a really good question. And of course, I'm answering now that I tested hundreds of ads with AI. And I think my main learning are that the industry keeps confusing two things, novelty and difference. AI is amazing at novelty, recombination at scale. We already spoke about it, having more content, 200 creative by next week. Okay, it's good at this, and that's real, and it actually matters because algorithm changed. Nowadays we expect on your ad network to spend 1000 per day and have at least 30 creative. It's the new standard when we used to be at 6 creative per campaign, which is a real difference. But novelty is not really difference, and gaming is really a saturated market. So in the auction, it's not making that much the difference because difference is a rupture. It's the creative that really lands because it names something, a player felt something, it really, it hadn't seen before. So something is really, not coming out of the archive or statistics, but really out of your heart, soul, culture, whatever. So the difference requires being really situated in a culture, in a body, in a moment. AI has been, really weak into this, and it really is something that hurts the CPM at the end of the day. So you have what is statistically present. If like we have 100 of Royal Match creative nowadays, it's not for nothing, but you don't have the difference. So AI cannot know what's missing. It learns from the archive, and the archive is a record of the past written by whoever had the power to record it. And by the way, it is an issue because in a market that used to work mainly in the United States and nowadays is focusing much more into Japan and APAC and also other locations like Australia, or even in a market where social casino is like 1% of the whole player of the world. It's not statistically significant and it's still generating ads for them. So I think there is a need for people to jump in and to really be humble and understand that the technology is not the people, and at some day you need to have as well a knowledge of who you are speaking to. And it's really difficult for gaming because historically, gaming has been globalizing and stereotyping massively. And nowadays, we are at the opposite, where content is getting like apps, is getting really localized, is getting, influencer, creator that get audiences, and this AI to date is not able to do it. So I don't think it can generate the same thing as a human can do. And actually, you're paying the price on the CPM nowadays because, as said at the beginning, ad quality algorithm improved massively. So when you have reported content, but also when they auto flag your content, it's something that hurts your CPM, so your cost per acquisition.
Yeah, that's super interesting, especially kind of understanding, the difference between novelty and the difference that you mentioned from the creative rituals coming from your heart. I love that. Burgess, I have a question for you, actually. AI can now generate like hundreds of creative variations automatically. Do the traditional performance signals still matter in that same way? And if not, what signals actually predict long-term creative success now?
I don't think the signals per se have changed. Like something that works, you can you can easily figure out most ad networks will start spending most of your budget on that, so you will know if something starts working. But I think what we should track has definitely changed. Like I remember, like even like a few years ago, where tracking creative variables was not a thing. Like it was not really something that was super popular. It has become now. It was something that was again gate kept to like very large companies where only they could do it because doing it was so expensive that you couldn't do it at smaller budget. It just wouldn't make sense. But now we're now able to do it at scale. So you should now not be looking at, okay, what creative is doing well. You should be using all the impression data that you have and all the spend data that you have to figure out what creative variable combinations are doing well. Like what influencer and what hook is working, what emotion and what concept is working. Those are the kinds of things that are going to be truer for longer. Like if I have an app which targets, like let's say moms for some reason, and that is my persona, like I need to understand what is working for them long term, even though the rendition of that insight might keep changing. And the rendition of that insight and how many creatives I will be producing now will anyway shoot up. And the life cycle of each creative will dramatically fall, like because more people will copy it as soon as it starts working. Like your entire industry or adjacent competitors will copy it, which means that more customers will see those kinds of ads faster and fatigue rates will sort of like increase very quickly. But the core insight that, hey, this angle works for this part of my persona or user, that is something that you need to know. And you can know that now without spending a lot of money, which was not possible before. So the performance metrics have not changed. The cuts on which you should be monitoring those metrics have definitely changed, and you should utilize that, because not doing that is basically, again, bringing a knife to a gunfight. You will lose if you're not doing this.
So, yeah, lesson learned. Bring that gun, not the knife. Ronnie, I have a good question for you, actually. We're seeing a lot of creatives being copied, and it's happening faster than ever with AI, copied in days instead of months. How should growth teams really rethink their creative strategy, if at all? And are we moving towards these creative operations instead of creative campaigns instead?
Yeah, I would say trends are moving faster and ads are getting fatigued even faster than before, especially on social channels. And getting your top performing creative copied by your competition is not something that is new. This has been part of mobile user acquisition since a very long time. But I do think it's getting definitely louder with this new AI era that we're seeing right now. And for us at Optic, this is not necessarily disrupting our fundamental creative strategy playbook. And we are having able to leverage AI when possible. And we when we have clients that where AI is compliant with their legal teams. But for us, creative strategy is all the more important than before, because as all panelists have been said, like it's important to identify culture, identify context, identify ideas that are relevant to your target audiences. And this is the biggest leverage that we have for creatives that are able to shine through all the other generated assets. And for us, the biggest breakthrough with AI has come from integrated LLMs inside our design tools. We have been able to utilize Cloud Code inside Photoshop and After Effects for troubleshooting problems in After Effects, and more important than that, for automating resizes. And we're testing ways of automating the localization process inside Photoshop and doing it at a scale that will be even faster than going in by hand and doing all these edits and resizes by hand. So I would say that for us, we're not rethinking our strategy, considering that uh, other competitors are able to replicate our ads. We are focusing on understanding the culture of our games, what is happening in the communities of our games, and really being able to continue iterating that and leverage AI in all the ways that are possible. And we like to not think of AI as a black box that is able to just give you the final creatives, but try to integrate it in every way possible into our creative production pipeline. And Robert, I do have a question for you. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, now that AI can already generate playable concepts at scale, do you think it can truly understand what it makes gameplay advertising convert? Is it changing now, generation or prediction? What are your thoughts on this?
Ooh, that's a great question. A little bit of a surprise, but I guess to do a quick introduction, at Reforged Labs, we're building AI agents for creative strategy. And we specifically work on large enterprises. So like the Supercells, Scopelys of the world, the largest companies in Israel and China and so forth. And this is kind of like the key questions they're always asking is like, hey, can you really understand what makes these like ads convert? And our thesis is that actually the media buying is kind of automated. App 11, you put something on there, it's going to go figure out what scales, and if it gets spend share, it's good. The production is something that many studios have figured out after a long period of time, whether they have like teams in Barcelona, China, and Vietnam, so forth. But the real challenge is now actually shifting the bottleneck to that generation of good ideas, a structured hypothesis. And so I think the biggest challenging now is like actually predicting what are the right winning hypotheses and synthesizing that learning, especially in like large companies that spend over like $20 million a week. These are like kind of like the sort of customers that I've been working with for the past year. And I do think it's now possible, not 100%, not all the time, but 80% of the time, you can actually get the right understanding, and that shifts the distribution curve. So thank you for that question, Ronnie. Actually, maybe going back to the broader group, and maybe this time we'll go in that initial order that we have, starting with Burgess. But if AI eventually makes creative production and replication, copying nearly instant, what will become the new moat for advertisers?
We will go back to the Don Draper era, is what I think will happen. Like you will need truly madmen to sort of come through and sort of come out with like ideas that are out of the box. Throw in those ingredients which are not already out there as data points, because if they are, then somebody's already copying it. So that doesn't really give you any alpha. It kind of feels like if you've ever sort of done trading, if you've done financial trading on stocks and stuff. So all the data is public, right? Everybody has the same information, but still some people make money and some people can't make money. So it's kind of that, right? So it's how you use that information, how you sort of mix that information, what additional information do you have that nobody else has. All of that sort of becomes, I think, the future of like how this will play out. I don't think the alpha sort of fully goes away, but the amount of effort that you need to put in to find that alpha will definitely rise. The average will sort of rise. So to be like again in the top 10 percentile in this new world, you have to do a lot more hard work to dig out truly original insights. But definitely what you shouldn't do is not use the stuff that is available, right? So again, going back to what I said, if everyone is using this, but you're for some reason resisting this change, that would feel like basically not adopting the internet, not adopting the PC. And whenever those things happen, it kind of feels like that you will be at a disadvantage. So adopt everything that you have, and then on top of that, find ways to come up with like novel thoughts and novel ideas. That's kind of what I think will happen.
Yes, I think it's a good point. On my side, I'm located in France, so I'm going just to share this perspective and maybe to some extent the European perspective. I think people are looking for perspective and ethics. This AI content is getting highly regulated. It wasn't the case when it was out because we didn't have really cases related to this. Now it's the case. And people are more and more also conscious, especially with the war that had a massive impact on the environment, of the cost of AI on the environment. So I think it's things that advertisers using it need to take into consideration. Especially in France, when you want to raise money, for instance, you need to give to VCs or government your gaming studio footprint. So it's something that is important, at least in Europe. And people really want a perspective. They want a real locatable point of view. When you are on TikTok, it's not to listen an AI. People, all generations, they want to have real people speaking to them. Snapchat understood it years ago, when they did their big campaigns about real friends on the partner. That was really massive. We also see communities rising, so the data you can't buy, audiences that really tell you, what you're really interested in, and this is highly localized. So to some extent, I think localized content is something that yes, AI can translate, but can't really have it real time. What's happening right now, election for instance in France or whatever, and really care. I think we are heading back into a landscape of effectively having a real input. Algorithms, they are already pushing back on AI content, and I think it's not really speak about in the industry. But AI UGC really gets it gets flagged by algorithm nowadays in user acquisition. Generic AI ads, they are really punished on quality score, and I think all the mediation platform out of there developed this really fast, so it's actually quite good. But it also came from the people that every time they saw an AI UGC, they reported the content. So they have been also helped by the audience, and the reason why they developed it is because, especially as the ad blocker in Germany, for instance, people just got bored out of it because advertisers have been using it too much. So I really think we will get back to authenticity, real values. At least in France, it's what I'm seeing a lot of appetite into, and it will be really different based on the region because, of course, not every country is taking this topic similarly. So I think we will need as well to watch really closely which country is behaving well or not to this kind of content.
Okay, awesome. How about Binod next?
See, if AI eventually makes creative production and replication almost instant, then creative production itself will no longer be the mode. So the real competitive advantage will shift toward intelligence, speed of learning, and audience understanding. So from SocialPeta, what we have seen that still when we talk about the ad data. So in gaming space, like 30 to 40% of the ad datas are like fully human made, whereas like 45 to 55 are AI assisted. And when we talk about fully AI generated ad data, it is somewhere around like 10 to 20%. So AI can be used as an assistant, not but it cannot be used as like fully functional tool for ad creative generation. So it should be the combination of AI, data, speed, and obviously human intervention.
I think the mode is shifting from creative production to creative strategy. And I think that winner teams will be the ones that are able to understand data faster and better, understand their audiences, build strong creative teams that are able to integrate AI not as just black box that generate ads, but as part of the pipeline of creatives that we have and integrate these AIs as part of our design tools. And for that, I do think that taste, art direction, authenticity, and understanding of your communities are still key to developing top performing creatives. And I would say, as other panelists have mentioned, human insight is the biggest, more important key right now more than before because become you can get a creative portfolio that is entirely looking the same as everyone else and having hundreds of ads, but all those ads are exactly the same to one another. And for giving you examples of what we're seeing on our end and on the partners we're working with, and this segues to a question on the chat as well. Um, we have seen creatives done that are becoming top performers in the past months that are made literally by stop motion and paper cutouts, literally creatives done by hand and by peoples, and this becoming creative top performers for larger IPs. And we have seen unscripted videos, UGC's videos from content creators talking very passionately about the games they like inside their car, and this type of videos becoming top performing creatives as well. And we have seen traditional motion graphics creatives becoming top performers as well because they just resonate with the target audiences. And we have seen real men on the street interviews, interviewing people and talking about dabs or things that are really passionate about and really displaying real emotions. And these becoming top performers for some our social casino apps. And I do think that human insight and authenticity are the biggest keys and leverage that we have to really understand our audiences and really come up with top performing creatives alongside all the new era of AI. And I think AI is really loud right now, but at the end of the day, the playbook is still the same. We just need to understand our audiences and use our authenticity to figure out what is really performing in the markets.
Yeah, I love that, Ronnie. And thank you for getting us started with the questions in the chat. Maybe we'll actually continue with Isa's question on are AI generated creatives better or worse? I think you said it well. In my experience, some of the top performing creatives I've seen are ugly, basic, or both. I do want to ask actually Binod, since you have a lot of the social peta data, if that's what you're seeing as well.
Come again, Robert. Sorry, I missed you.
Yeah, Isa's question and where Ronnie was beginning to answer already was, have you ever seen AI generated creative perform better or worse than a human-made creative? And what do you think explained the result?
See, it's totally depend upon the app or games you are publishing or you are trying to create the creatives for. So obviously the human we are developing apps or any games for human, right? So when you design a creative where there is a human intervention, then obviously the performance is very high compared to the robotic one. So as I mentioned earlier also, still in the gaming space, there are only 10 to 20% creatives which are generated totally by AI. Remaining like 55 to 60% has human intervention.
Awesome. Thank you. And I actually want to address Emily's question as well. Emily asked a really great one. With AI generating hundreds of creatives faster than ever, using similar hooks, formats, and AI styles more quickly, how do you avoid creative fatigue and keep ads feeling fresh and engaged? Ronnie, I know you started to answer that question. Anything else you want to add? Because I also want to ask Burgess about the strategy and insight layer of this question.
I would say it's very important to really understand the communities that are revolving around their games and really understanding insider knowledge that is interesting and useful for them, and really try to figure out how they think and what really makes them tick, because this is how you can leverage all these tools, because there are tools at the end of the day to really put in front of them creatives that makes them resonate deeply with what you're building and what you are really trying to accomplish with your game and with your apps. So I would say the real alpha is continue to be having a clear understanding of who you are speaking to and who you are trying to target to your game. And I would say all these new tools are great and are useful in different ways. But at the end of the day, human insight, psychology, and understanding of your target demographic continue to be the biggest leverage that there is. It's just that the landscape is getting flooded with these new AI tools that don't consider that. And if you're able to really take a look at what you're producing and what your target audience is and really resonate with them, that's how you will be able to create creatives that really shine in all these sea of AI generated ads.
Burgess, do you have anything else you want to add on from a layer of strategy and insight?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's it will fatigue faster, right? And there is nothing we can do about that part. But what will not fatigue is the core reason as to why that ad worked in the first place. So that has a longer lifetime. Uh, but you need to know what made it work, right? So again, going back to I think Ronnie said it really well that the leverage is now moving to creative strategy. And a big part of that is knowing why something worked. Because if you don't know why it worked, you can't really sort of like make more ads which are leaning on the same core but are like visually different, conceptually different, etc. But they're still using the same core that made the initial ad work. So there's no like sort of way to fight that the fact that the ads are going to fatigue faster. The biggest thing that you can do is to ensure that you know why, if an ad did work, even for a few days, you need to know why it worked so that you can then replicate that core insight in multiple different ways and continue to sort of make ads leaning on that core insight for a longer period of time. That's the only way to sort of fight that fatigue right now.
Awesome. And Claire, it looks like you also want to add on the question around avoiding creative fatigue.
Yes, and first, I just think it's a really good question because I feel like we speak a lot about creative fatigue without defining it and why it's rising so much. So, creative fatigue is basically your ad that starts to decline, and there is reason for that. People are spending more and more time on social media. There is a real diversification in the auction with more and more advertisers bidding on the same people, and they are requesting much more creative rotation in order not to have the same person that is spending much more time than 10 years ago on TikTok, for instance, not seeing always the same ad because otherwise you are going to make them churn. So I think before understanding what to do, you need to understand what it is. And creative ad fatigue is basically a phenomenon that comes from the user, the player, people using a mobile that are just spending more time on the device and that are just seeing more ads at the same time. So I think it's up to you as well to understand that this is about a rotation and also build a storytelling on a creative storytelling, of course. If this user see this ad, what can be the second ad they are seeing, and something that is also making sense. With AI, we are seeing some advertiser, I take this trend, I take this trend, and the user are not even recognizing the game. When I used to work at Match Group, what you needed to do, the main goal was the user to remind your brand, who you are, what you are doing. But nowadays, we are living into an environment where gaming studio don't even care about who they are, their value, and what they want to provide to the user. So, of course, ad fatigue is rising up. So, I think before trying to fight against the ad fatigue, try to understand what it is and why it happens to users that are actually seeing your ads.
Awesome. Thank you, Claire. I saw there was actually one last question in the chat from Iftikhar Hussein. I'll ask the question, but while I ask it, speakers on the panel, if you guys can please drop your LinkedIn into the chat, that'd be great. And let's have actually Claire answer this question. I want to direct this question around human versus AI judgment to you, Claire. So Ifikar's question around human intervention versus AI, if AI is making decisions based on algorithms, but humans still bring the creativity, the empathy, the user understanding, where do you think the right balance is between AI automation and human judgment?
So it depends who you are speaking to. If you are speaking to people, if you are speaking to human, there will just no doubt. You should have more human into the process. You know, AI can really easily be a trap. And also, I saw a lot of creative team that started, you know, to listen AI, to make things, not believing into their own judgment anymore, and just losing massive quality. And we see it a lot with the big studio. I'm not going to name them. They started to use AI and they lost a lot and they don't have new games working well. And the reason being, oh, I asked Claude, I asked ChatGPT, they said this. Okay, but they are answering on things that has been performing 10 years ago. Statistical data is a big volume of data that needs to be aggregated on the internet. And it's not what actually people are excited about. People, me, I see they are excited about authenticity, about global warming. They are worried about the war. They are thinking about politics. There is much more actually that are happening nowadays in the world and beautiful things advertisers could do with games that they are not doing. So I think it's time for everyone to get back to their users, their people, and also creativity is the best message that you can give in those time. And I really believe AI can't get it out of you know humanity or you know nature, environment, everything.
Awesome. I think that's a good place to wrap. Thank you again to everyone for joining, and huge shout out to Lena and the SocialPeta team. Thank you, Claire, Binod, Burgess, Ronnie, for sharing your perspective. Just to recap a few themes that really stood out to me today. Ronnie, you made a really great point around AI lowering the barrier to creative production. But if everyone's using the exact same tools in the exact same way, things are going to start to look the same. So the role of creative strategy, understanding your community, building ads, that's all going to be more important than ever. Claire, you really talked about that useful distinction between the novelty and the true difference. And AI is great at recombining all those existing things, but we need to focus on the real human empathetic part because that's where AI struggles, the culture, the localization, authenticity, and understanding what's missing in the market. Burgess, you framed it really well with cooking analogies. You know, bringing it down to the newbies like me, AI makes execution easier than ever, but the edge is still in the ingredients and in the recipes, the customer insights that you have, and how you combine all of them to create something that no one can really copy. And Binod, thank you for bringing the data perspective from SocialPeta. AI can help teams produce far more creatives at a much lower cost, but only a small percentage of those are actually driving performance. So the challenge is no longer can you just make a lot of ads quickly, it's whether you can make the right ads at the right time for the right audience. So my takeaway is simple. AI is changing the workflow. It's making production and replication, the copying a lot faster, but the real mode is shifting towards human judgment, audience understanding, creative strategy, and the ability to learn faster than anyone else, just like the super smart panel right here. And so before we close, don't forget to connect with our panelists on LinkedIn. They've dropped in their details in the contact, and huge thank you to Lena and the SocialPeta team. All thanks for our partners for putting this all together, and see you guys next time.